Hello everybody and welcome to this webinar, the title of which is the 8 Essential Elements of Effective Email Marketing. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Murray Cowell and I manage a company called Inbox Income. With a name like that you can probably guess what we do. We help our clients to produce income via the inbox. More specifically, we work with business owners and marketing professionals who are not getting the results they want from their email marketing, and we make it easy for them to get the right message to the right people at the right time to turn their ideal prospects into loyal customers. The very fact that you've tuned into this webinar indicates that you know you could be getting more from your email marketing. Maybe you're not getting as many leads from it as you would like, and as a result your business isn't growing fast enough or your sales are stagnating. Or perhaps you want to use email to deliver a better service to your existing customers, maybe to get them to do more business with you or to recommend you to other people. If you tried to get results from email marketing, then you've probably found, like most people, that it's not as easy as it looks. You'll have heard from others or read in books or online that email marketing is one of the best tools you have at your disposal for building your business. Done well, email marketing can bring you a constant supply of inquiries from your ideal customers and prospects. You can also use it to secure greater loyalty from your existing customers, and as their bond with you grows stronger, they'll do more business with you, trust you more, and stay with you for longer. Email marketing is one of the most powerful tools in your digital marketing toolbox. More people than ever before are signing up to receive emails, open rates and click-through rates are higher than ever, and spam rates are falling. People spend more time now looking at their inboxes than ever before, and that means that people are becoming more tolerant to well-executed email marketing. They're more likely to read your emails and visit your website and buy from you as a result of your campaigns than at any other time in history. There's never been a better time than now for email marketing. However, as people's tolerance to good email marketing increases, so their tolerance of bad email marketing diminishes. The general standard of email marketing is getting higher, so you have to be even better than before in order to stand out. The increase in smartphone and tablet use means that if your email doesn't look good across all devices, a very large chunk of your readers will just delete it immediately unread. So although the potential for great results from email marketing is better than ever, the pressure to do it well is also higher than ever before. On the face of it, email marketing is very straightforward. You write an email, send it to a list of people, and the business starts rolling in. And actually it can be that easy, as we shall see later. But most people who are serious about email marketing tend to run into the same common problems that inhibit results. Here are some of the problems that people doing email marketing typically encounter. See if any of this sounds familiar. You know that you should be doing email marketing, but you're not quite sure what's the best way to go about it. Maybe you haven't got enough data, so you've got nobody to send your emails to. How can you grow your list? Should you buy data? What other ways are there to get people to opt into receiving your emails? Or perhaps you've got so much data that it's unmanageable. You don't want to spend a lot of time messing around with spreadsheets, downloading data from one system and uploading it into another. So how can you effectively segment your lists without it taking up a lot of time? Then there's the question of what your emails should look like. You haven't got a lot of time to tinker around with software packages to send your emails, but at the same time, you're no doubt less than 100% happy with the way that they look. Should you add more graphics, or are text-only emails the way to go? Do you know how to lay out your emails to get the best response? You don't know how often to send emails. What day of the week is best? Is it better to send them in the morning or the afternoon? How often should you send them? How often is too often? You worry that you'll upset people by emailing them too often. They might unsubscribe, or worse, report you for spamming, unsubscribe, and end up hating you for bothering them. So you send out emails about once a month, maybe a monthly newsletter or something like that, but you don't really have any news, so you often find yourself stuck for something to write about. You may have noticed that you don't get much of a response, if any, to your newsletters. That's not surprising, for reasons which will become clear shortly. Newsletters are generally not an effective way of marketing your business unless you genuinely have a lot of news that your readers are dying to hear about. Probably not. Another scenario could be that you have something specific that you want to promote or sell. You might have tried an e-shot, like a mail shot, but by email. If you've ever done that, I'm guessing that you were very, very disappointed with the results. There are good reasons for that too, which I will explain later. E-shots are rarely the answer. Even when you can think of something to write, you don't know how to write it so that people want to read it. As a result, the number of people who open your emails is very low. Of those who do open them, the number who do anything as a result is even lower. So you're asking yourself, how do you get the interest of your readers? How do you get through the spam filters in the first place, and how can you get your readers to move from interested browsing to making a purchase? You don't see any tangible results from your emails, but everywhere you hear people saying that email is a really important marketing tool. So you take it on faith that it must be worth doing. Maybe people will come to you by other means after reading your emails, so even if it isn't measurable, it's still worth doing. Nevertheless, each month when the time to do your monthly email approaches, you feel a certain sense of dread that you've got to do it. Then it takes a lot of time and effort and energy to create your emails, which you don't really want to do. If you've thought about these questions for any length of time, the chances are that your head has started to hurt and you've begun to wonder whether it's worth all the hassle at all. The net effect of all of this is that you can't help feeling that email marketing should be a whole lot easier than this. Now, no doubt you've got better things to do. However, your leads are either drying up altogether or you're spending a lot of time chasing after people who turn out to be not the sort of customer you want to work with at all. And that's a big waste of time. If you've got sales teams, their conversion rates will be lower than they could be, so your sales cycles are too long and the cost per sale is too high. You know that email marketing could make them more effective, but you're not sure how. If any of this rings a bell, then don't worry, you're in good company, because most people who use email marketing have experienced one or more of these problems, myself included. If you have experienced any of these problems, please type yes in the chat box on your page, and if you like, let me know which ones, because I'm very interested to know about that. If you're thinking about other problems that aren't mentioned so far, please use the chat box to let me know what they are. But you are right about one thing for sure, it's definitely worth doing email marketing, even if you do it badly. One client of ours did nothing more than send out their print newsletter rendered as a graphic email. It was awful. There was far too many subjects. There were over 1,200 words, tiny writing, no call to action. But on the back of one of those emails, they landed a £30,000 contract with a national retailer. So it's great that you do some email marketing, even if you worry that it isn't good enough. At the very least, it keeps your business at the forefront of your customers' and prospects' minds. And that's really important, because if you're not emailing them, it's only a matter of time before one of your competitors does. Then if they're getting emails, if your customers are getting emails from your competitors but not from you, guess what? When they need the product or service that you provide, it's highly likely that they're going to go to the competitor instead, because the competitor has been building up the relationship with them whilst they've heard nothing from you. So it's vitally important that you do keep up sending your marketing emails. But the fact that you're here means that you want to get better results, and that means getting more people opening your emails, more people clicking on the links in your emails to your website, and more new and repeat customers from your campaigns. My mission is to make it easy for you to get better results. So what can I tell you today that you can implement immediately to start getting better results? Let me introduce you to a simple but powerful structure that, when you master it, will transform the results that your email marketing delivers. There are 8 essential elements that you must have in place if you want your email campaigns to be successful. If any one of these elements is lacking, your campaigns may work, but they will not be bringing you as much business as they could be. You'll be leaving money on the table. The return that you get from your investment in your email marketing will be lower than it could be, and you'll spend more time creating your campaigns that you need to, and therefore you're going to waste effort. And what's worse is, if your competitors are getting better faster than you are, you'll eventually lose business to smarter marketers. And I can tell you the quality of email marketing is generally abysmal. Most people do it very, very badly, but as I mentioned earlier, it is getting better as more and more people realise what they need to do to outmaneuver others. By paying attention to these 8 essential elements, you can get ahead of the game. Improving just a little bit in each of these areas will make your campaigns start to take off. And if you continue to improve in these 8 essential elements, your campaigns will soar, and you'll see a huge increase in the amount of money, the amount of business that your campaigns bring you, bringing you an ever larger return on your investment. And that's something that I want to stress. The time and money that you spend on email marketing, like any other form of marketing, is not a cost to your business. It's not a cost, it's an investment, and it should pay for itself many times over. The average with email marketing is 25 times over, although I have seen customers get a return of more than 300-fold on their investment. So if you invest some of your time and a bit of money in attending to the 8 essential elements of email marketing, you should see a very large return on your investment. Now, clearly, in the little time that we've got available today, I can only give you a brief overview of these elements, but there will be simple actions that you can take on each element straight away that will start to bring you better results. If you're really serious about getting more business from email and you want to know how to get really good at it, then later on in the presentation, I'll tell you how we work with people to unleash the hidden potential in their email marketing. I'm not going to try and sell you anything, just to let you know what the next steps are if you want to take them. I'm expecting to take about 30 minutes to give you this overview of the 8 essential elements. And then at the end, we've got time to take questions. So please type your questions into the question box on your page as we go along, and I'll answer them either as you raise them or at the end. And please also give me feedback as we go along via the question box, because I'm really interested to know how you've used email up until now and what your issues are. So please feel free to send messages at any time. In this way, you can help me to shape this and other webinars to make sure that they're meeting your needs. So let's keep going. What are the 8 essential elements? Well, for most people, the starting point for their email marketing is writing something. Everyone wants to sit down and start writing emails, and of course that is important, and we'll come on to that in a minute, but it's not the starting point. There is a crucial foundation that comes first, and it is deeper insights into what motivates your customers and prospects. So many people in business do not truly understand what it is that they have to offer, and because they don't understand it, they don't really know who their ideal prospect is. You may have started to do a bit of work on this, maybe created an avatar for your perfect client, so you know she's a woman in her early 40s who's left a successful sales career to set up her own business. She lives in the suburbs, she prefers red wine to white wine, reads The Guardian, listens to Radio 4, likes to go on holiday to hot places with sandy beaches, and has 2 children named Josh and Emily. You then try to write your emails to that person. This is, I'm afraid, bunkum. There is usually little or no benefit in trying to picture your perfect prospect in these kind of terms. And most of the information that you invent while you're doing so will be of little or no use to you at all. There are, in fact, only 2 things that any prospect is interested in. And if you write about these 2 things, your prospect will be interested. If you don't, your prospect might be interested in your emails, but it will be for the wrong reasons, so it probably won't turn into good business. The 2 things that you must address are either a problem that your prospects have that they want to get rid of, and or a result that they want that they do not currently have. Your products and services are just a solution to the problem or a means to achieve the result. Your prospect is not interested in the means to the end, but only in the end itself. You've probably heard the example of someone who buys a drill. Nobody actually wants a drill. What they want is a hole in the wall. But we can take that further. Why do they want a hole in the wall? Because they want somewhere to hang their pictures. And why do they want to hang up pictures? Because they want to be reminded of happy times. Why do they want to be reminded of happy times? Because it makes them feel better. So the drill is a way to achieve an end result that they currently do not have, and that's warm, happy feelings about their loved ones. And if you think this is far-fetched, just remember the John Lewis Christmas advert. It was about penguins. There was no mention anywhere in the advert of shops, shopping, or any of the reasons why John Lewis is a good place to go to do your Christmas shopping. It didn't even tell you what John Lewis have got on sale, apart from stuffed penguins. What the advert shows you is a happy family having a magical Christmas, and it's left your subconscious to associate shopping at John Lewis, which is something that you probably don't really want because Christmas shopping is generally a pain in the arse, with something that you do really want, which is a magical happy Christmas in the bosom of your family. Another example that you're probably familiar with is the expression sell the sizzle, not the steak. Well, that's nonsense. When did you last turn to your partner and say, let's go out for a meal tonight, I really fancy listening to a sizzle? The reason you eat out is to have a romantic interlude with your special other, or to get together with your family or a load of mates and have a good time. Yes, the food is important, but it's the feelings that you get when you're there that really make the difference. Now let's take a business example. One of our clients is a business coach. He coaches business owners. Do business owners want coaching? No. Nobody in business thinks, what I really need to do is pay someone a couple of £100 a week to discuss my business with me. Nobody thinks that. What do business owners want? What problems do they want to go away, and what results do they want to achieve? Well, if you are a business owner, you'll know you want more customers, fewer problems with your staff, you want your invoices paid more quickly, you want finance to grow your business, and ultimately you want a way to sell up and sail off into the sunset. Why do you want those things? Because typically you started your business so that you could experience physical and financial freedom. But instead, you're working longer hours than ever before for less money, or your business is going okay, but you still feel somehow unfulfilled because you've reached a plateau and you don't know where to go next. So business coaching is about setting business owners free from the shackles of their own businesses, giving them direction and allowing them to cash in on the promise of a comfortable retirement. When we started writing our clients' emails with this in mind, one of his contacts wrote this: I never reply to cold call style emails, but something about yours has caught my eye. I would be very interested in a one-to-one with you. Please let me know when we could meet up for an initial appraisal. This person was an absolutely ideal prospect for our client. In fact, our chap wrote to us to say, he ticks all the boxes. You couldn't have found me a more perfect client. Thanks. Now, this was not luck. This was not an accident. It came about because we took our client through a process to understand his prospects in a way that he had never seen them before. Are you starting to see this? It's all about feelings and emotions. People make decisions based on their emotions and justify them rationally afterwards. Knowing what your customers want is not enough. Most likely there are hundreds or even thousands of people who do what you do, all of whom could solve your prospects' problems and enable their results. So why should they come to you? What is it about your business that is so special that they should buy from you? And you'd better have a pretty good answer to this question. And I'll give you a clue. Statements like, we pride ourselves on our quality products and excellent customer service, or we've been in business since 1805 and we're passionate about our widgets, just will not cut it. Many people make the mistake of talking and writing about their products and services and their business. Nobody cares about your business. Nobody cares about your products and services. The only thing they care about is the problems that they have and the results that they want. And you must also understand why these things are important. What are the often unconscious needs and desires that are driving your prospect's behavior? Then you need to understand how your prospect talks and thinks about these problems. You must be able to articulate the problem or missing result using the same language that your prospect uses. Ideally, you should be able to articulate it even better than they can. And when you do that, your prospect will instantly feel that you understand them. Now, this is not straightforward, and it takes a lot of thought and effort to get inside your prospect's head. But here is something that you can do straight away. Identify who your best customers are, your most loyal, biggest spending, most appreciative customers, the ones who are a joy to work with. Now get on the phone to them and ask them these questions. How did you first become interested in our products and services, whatever they are? And what was the pivotal moment that caused you to start using us? Because usually something happens that makes someone decide, oh, I need a new phone system, or oh, I need a new delivery service. Find out what it is. What's the trigger? Then ask them, what were you hoping to achieve by doing so? And here you're looking for the problems that they wanted to solve or the results that they wanted to achieve. Now ask, why is that important to you? At least 5 times. And you can vary this by asking, what did that enable you to do? Or how did that change things? Or what was it like after you were able to achieve that? And so on and so on. If you do this, I guarantee that you will hear some revealing answers which will start to change and deepen your understanding of why people buy from you. Now, you've probably noticed that I've spent quite a while on this part, and that's because it is the most important piece of the puzzle. If you do nothing else as a result of this webinar, apart from what I've just suggested, it could completely transform your approach to your marketing. Now you know what people are looking for in your business. The next piece of the puzzle is who to write to. Most people have got a contact list, but how many of you can say that you've built a hyper-responsive contact list? What does that mean? Well, if you email your list, some people will open your email and some people will not. Typically, you'll get an open rate of 5 to 15% if you use a bought-in list, and an open rate of about 25 to 40% if you use your own organically generated list. And by that, I mean a list that you've built yourself, either by getting people to opt in via your website, or from people that you've met, or through social media, or any one of a dozen other list building strategies. But you don't want just anybody's email address. You want contacts that fit the profile of your perfect prospect, which is why it's so important to do the groundwork mentioned earlier. That way, you're likely to start with a fairly responsive list already. If your list is people who you can help to achieve a result or solve a problem, they're far more likely to open your emails and respond. You want to find people who have that problem and want that result, not try to persuade people who haven't got it. But here's the thing, the size of your list is not what's important. What's important is how responsive it is. One of our clients got inquiries worth 50 grand in 4 hours on a Friday afternoon from a list of only 170 people. Why was this campaign so successful? Well, part of the reason was that he collected these contacts at an exhibition the previous week, so they were red hot leads. It's not the quantity of contacts that's important, but the quality. Unless you've been pruning your list regularly, there's a proportion of people that you email who never ever open your emails. If you don't prune it at all, it's probably about half. Why are you still emailing these people? They're non-responsive. By taking them out of your list, you focus your efforts on the more responsive people. There are many other techniques for motivating your contacts to respond more frequently, but I'm going to share a really simple one with you that you can implement immediately. Email more often. Almost everyone I speak to about email marketing is way too nervous of emailing their list too frequently. Yet all the research shows that the more often you email people, the more responsive they become. And that's been my experience as well. Not all of them, obviously. Some people won't like it. They may even unsubscribe. Good. You don't want people on your list who are not interested in your business. If they're interested, they'll stay subscribed, and your ideal prospects will certainly stay subscribed. That's been my experience too. I've seen the number of active subscribers, that's people who've opened at least one of your emails in a given time period, increase by 50% in a few weeks, just by increasing the frequency of emails. It's counterintuitive, I know, but the more you email people, the more responsive they become. So, time to take action to build your list. Firstly, make list building a central activity. Collect every email address you can at every opportunity, particularly if they're people who fit the profile of your ideal prospect. Now go through the results of your campaigns and prune out the people who aren't responding to your campaigns. Alright, so now you understand your prospects' hidden desires and you've got an active list to write to. What are you going to write about? You need a fountain of fresh content. Never mind struggling to think what to write. How would you like to come up with a year's worth of fresh, interesting content in one easy session? That might sound like a tall order, but I promise you it's possible. The secret is to stop thinking about what you want to say. Think instead about what your customers and prospects want to hear. Next, stop thinking about what you want to sell. Instead, think about the problem your prospect has got that she wants to get rid of, and think about the result that she wants that she hasn't got. Now think of topics that are about solving these problems and bringing about those results. Now you're onto something. I call this the 5-4-3 formula. Let me explain. We were hired by a client who runs a telephone messaging service. He couldn't think of a single thing to write about. What is there to say about taking messages, he used to say to me. And after asking him a few questions, I discovered that as well as taking messages, he also puts details into his clients' CRM systems, manages their diaries, and he can sometimes advise on their sales processes. He does a bit of order fulfillment and can also provide extra help taking calls following marketing campaigns. So there's 5 topics or more to do with his business. So what are the problems that he solves? What results does he enable? Next step is to find 4 problems or results in each of the 5 topic areas. For example, when taking messages, there are problems like the message being passed on inaccurately, what to do with more urgent messages, how to answer the phone in the first place, handling complaints, and so on. Next, come up with 3 solutions, hints and tips, or pieces of advice about each problem or result. Once we started thinking in these terms, we were able to produce a fountain of fresh content, positioning him as an expert on communications, CRM systems, sales processes, diary management, etc., etc. So, here's a quick action you can take to find fresh content. List 5 different areas of your business. So for example, if you're an accountant, you could list filing accounts, tax returns, cash flow, tax mitigation, and payroll. Now under each heading, list 4 problems your customers experience or results that they want with each of those topics. Bingo, you've got a year's worth of content at the rate of 1 email a week. The secret is to write about those things without mentioning your products and services. Write about how the problem is solved or how the result is enabled, which raises the question of how you write, and that calls for a writing style that keeps people reading and converts readers into buyers. There are 3 mistakes that people commonly make when they're writing their emails. Writing too much, writing too little, and trying to be clever. People have a very short attention span these days, have you noticed? And nowhere is the human attention span shorter than on the internet. And nowhere on the internet is it shorter than when they're reading their emails. When you go through your inbox, you make decisions about whether to open an email or whether to delete it almost automatically. At best, your decisions are only semi-conscious. You scan your inbox with your finger over the delete button. So subject line has got about a quarter of a second to appeal to your unconscious brain. How it's written is therefore vital. Even when the email is opened, the finger does not stop hovering over the delete button. This is a very useful image to keep in your mind when you're writing and editing your emails. Every sentence must motivate your reader to read on. You're only ever a click away from their trash folder. So the monthly newsletter has got to go. Doesn't it make your heart sink just hearing those words? Who wants to read a newsletter? How much news can there possibly be? Do you want to know what's new in email marketing this week? Nothing. There's nothing new under the sun. I see so many emails telling me that someone's got a new website, or that Ollie has just joined the team, or that they've got a new van, or they've moved to a new office, or just won an award for the best dressed shop window, an endless time of absolute drivel that can't possibly interest anybody outside the company in which it was written. Do not inflict this suffering on your contacts. On the other hand, another shocking email marketing crime is the e-shot. I can hardly bring myself to say it. An e-shot is one of those emails that looks like a flyer, basically just an advert for some product or service that's the online equivalent of someone shoving a leaflet into your hand when you're out shopping. Now, I'm not saying that this approach can never work. It can and does work for a very small proportion of cases, but it almost certainly will not work for you. E-shots will only appeal if you are very well known to the reader and they're on the brink of making a purchase for the product or service that you're promoting. Most of the time, most of your prospects are not about to buy, so sending them an e-shot will not work. If they don't know you well, it may not work even if they are just about to buy. Why should they trust you? Just because you sell the thing that they want doesn't mean that they're going to buy it from you. In fact, the worst case scenario is that your email will motivate them to go and buy it from someone else. So e-shots, along with newsletters, must be consigned to the dustbin of marketing history. This blast-to-all approach is an outdated model of email marketing. We need to be thinking about a much more targeted, segmented approach. More about this a bit later. The third mistake is trying to be clever. Cryptic headlines, flowery prose, puns, long sentences, riddles, all of these require much too much thought for your reader. And if there's one thing your reader does not want to do, it's think. Your job when writing your copy is to make it as simple as possible for your reader to get his head around your message. And that means stripping out anything that detracts from a simple, clear message. Writing quality copy is a skill that has to be learned and honed over a long period of time. But here's a tip that I guarantee will improve the readability of your emails. After you've written your copy, go to www.readability-score.com and paste your words into the tool. If your reading ease score is lower than 60 or your average grade level score is higher than 8, your copy is too hard to read online. You must hammer it until you achieve these scores. Shorten sentences, use words with fewer syllables, change long words for short words. And as you do so, notice how much better your copy becomes. This webinar, for example, scores 75 for reading ease and has an average grade level score of 7.7, just about right. So here's the action you can take on this topic. Dig out the last email or other piece of marketing copy that you wrote. Go to www.readability-score.com and check out your score. Rewrite the piece until the reading ease score is over 60 and the average grade level is lower than 8. Now read both versions out loud and notice the difference. Every sentence that you write should have one purpose and one purpose only, and that's to motivate your reader to read the next one. Your message should flow into your reader's mind like water running downhill. The way you lay out your emails is also essential to the results you will get, which brings me on to email design for action. Well, we could do a whole webinar just on this subject, and by crikey, one day we probably will. But for now, one of the key questions is whether to use text-only emails or lots of images and graphics. The answer to this is, it depends. Text-only emails and emails with very few graphics look much more personal, but they also stand out less. Emails with lots of images and graphics tend to stand out more and are more interesting visually. However, they also look like what they are, marketing emails. Which approach gets you the best results will depend on what you are emailing about and to whom. So if you're emailing information to your customers, you might want it to look more personal. But if you're making a special offer, a graphic email might work better. To help you decide, here are a few guidelines. Firstly, think about the email environment. Many people simply treat emails as a digital version of their existing material, repurposing a newsletter, flyer, or other form of direct mail with no thought to the platform being used. But reading a printed flyer and reading text on a screen is radically different. The mindset of someone going through their emails is not the same as someone holding a flyer or newsletter in their hand. Email is an interactive medium, but as I've already mentioned, people's attention spans are tiny when they read online. If someone has your flyer in their hand and the message is clear, they'll take time to read it, and they may well take it away with them for future reference. The same cannot be said for emails. The nature of this medium means that you only have a few seconds to engage the reader before they either archive it, delete it, or mark it as important. Think about the key message you need them to see, and make sure it stands out with a clear call to action that's immediately visible. A printed advertisement will appear the same to everyone who sees it, but an email may not. One thing that Outlook, Yahoo, Gmail, Lotus Notes, and Hotmail all have in common is that they will all render emails slightly differently. The most common B2B platform is Outlook, and it displays emails with images turned off by default. This can be changed in the settings, but most people just turn images on a message-by-message basis. Consider that if your main message is shown as an image. It's quite possible that a lot of readers won't see it, and that's why it's vital to make sure that you incorporate HTML text into your emails. Make sure that people see what's important. If an image is at the top and you want people to see it, but their images are turned off, add what's called alt tags to describe the image instead. If your software doesn't support all of this, listen out later for guidelines on how to choose a better system. Do you have several features in an email that you want people to see? You already know that most people will only see the top portion of an email and won't necessarily scroll down to see the rest. To make sure that you're not wasting time generating lots of email content which won't be seen, you can add a menu to the top of your email. An email-based menu won't operate in the same way to that of a fancy menu on a web page. It just needs styling in a similar way for consistency. Then all you have to do is add an anchor tag to each link so that the user can click it and they'll be taken to a specific point further down the email. This means that even if the reader isn't compelled to read the content highest up the email, they can still easily access content that they are interested in. Once again, your software should make this easy to do. If it doesn't, time to change. Finally, if your emails strongly require images to be present, there are a few things to consider. Bear in mind what I've already said, that your images might not be seen, so make sure that your message is clear with or without the image. Depending on whether you're in a B2B or a B2C market, somewhere between a third and a half of your readers will open your email on a mobile device such as a smartphone or tablet. Too many images or images that have a very large file size can be slow loading. No good for mobile users. This could also prevent an email from getting through a spam filter altogether, an even worse scenario. So keep your image to text ratio to a minimum and make sure that your images are properly optimized for email. Reduce them to the same size and use JPEGs wherever possible. Also, bear in mind that some people will open your emails in text-only browsers, so you should always include in your email a plain text version which you can format separately. It's no good including text like, look at this picture in a text-only email, and a separate plain text version allows you to edit this out. There are too many design principles to cover here, but one thing is absolutely essential. Whatever you're doing, make sure that you've got a clear idea of the message that you want to be seen and how best to convey it. Put yourself in your customer's shoes and think about how they access and view your emails and optimize your designs accordingly. Your email should also have a strong call to action. Don't expect your reader to know what you want her to do. Even if you think she does, you'll get a much better response if you're explicit about it. Avoid using the words click here whenever possible. You'll get a much better response if you use a phrase explaining what the person will get when they click on the link. For example, download your free guide now, or book your tickets today, or whatever it happens to be. So your simple action here is to review your last 3 email campaigns. What could you have done to improve your design? And how could you make your call to action clearer and more compelling? Your call to action should stand out, so if it's in text, make it bold and underline it, or better yet, use an image or a standout box. Next, the next element to get right is to plan your campaigns for maximum response. As I mentioned earlier, you must rid your mind of the e-shot and the newsletter because they are very ineffective in most circumstances. This is the usual sequence. A person signs up for your emails, and then you send them an email every month, whether or not you've got anything interesting to say, on and on, endlessly, forevermore, until they either unsubscribe or die. So if you're not going to email like this, what could you email instead? Well, you could send alerts, bulletins, hints and tips, promotions for specific offers and events. For example, when someone makes a purchase from you, they will be much more open to receiving emails from you. You could send a thank you email followed by explanations of how to use whatever product or service they've bought. You could send them information about guarantees and customer service, or upsell emails offering add-ons and related products and services. A short while later, you can send emails of the advanced hints and tips variety. Still later, your customers may be interested to hear about upgrades or other products. You can send these alongside monthly emails if you must, but campaigns that are tailored to the customer's experience will bring you much better returns. Another approach is a nurture series. When people first sign up to your list, you can send them a series of interesting, relevant, valuable, and easy to read emails in quick succession. People are much more tolerant to this approach than most email marketers believe. You can then change what you send next based on how people have responded to your campaigns. Your generic emails can contain links to specific products and services, and you can create a specific series of triggered emails about an individual product or service, which is only sent to people who clicked on the links in the generic emails. When planning your campaigns, it's important to begin with the end in mind. What is the goal of your campaign? Is it to offer a specific product and service? Is it to get people along to a seminar or an event? Is it to increase people's trust in you? Or is it to communicate an important piece of information to customers? Next, think of the series or sequence of emails that will lead your prospects towards that goal. In my experience, many people send their emails out later than they plan to, and this is usually because they've underestimated how much time to allow for each step in the process. To avoid this, and instead make sure that your emails always go out on time, think about what activities will take place in order to send these emails. When will you decide what to write about in each email? Then there's the copy. When are you going to write it? Design. How will you display the information in your email to best effect? Approvals. Who needs to approve the copy before it can go out? It may just be you, but in many organisations, someone else will also be involved in the approval process. How much time will they take to give their approval? Rework. If the approver asks for changes, how long will these changes take? And when will you do them? Scheduling. When do you plan to send these emails? And then don't forget the review process. Who's going to review results and when is that going to happen? Now you can draw up a schedule of activities, making it clear what has to be done by when. You could draw this up as a table or as a Gantt chart, depending on your preference and the type of campaign. If you plan your campaigns like this, you can be sure to start working on them in good time so they go out on time every time. So an immediate action you can take is to draw up a plan for your next campaign. Make sure you involve everyone who needs to be involved and allow enough time for each activity. So your actions: set up a plan for your next campaign and pay close attention to who has to do what, how long it all takes, and deadlines for each action to ensure the email goes out on time. Now, many people send out their emails in a spirit of hope, trusting that the planned results will materialise. But if you want to be absolutely sure that your campaigns will deliver more business and carry on delivering more business, then it's important to keep on improving them. So what's required is a process of continuous improvement. This means reviewing the results of each campaign and asking yourself what you could have done better. The key metrics to look out for are delivery rate. That's how many of the emails that you sent were actually delivered, and that's a reflection of the quality of your data. Open rate, so what percentage of people who received the email actually opened it. The key factors affecting this are the name of the sender and how familiar that is to the reader, the subject line, and the day and time that the email was sent. The click-to-open rate, this is the proportion of people who clicked on a link after opening the email, sometimes called the click-through rate, although strictly speaking the click-through rate is the number of unique clicks as a proportion of the number of emails delivered. And finally, return on investment, so how much money did the campaign actually deliver? It's important to use A/B split testing to optimize these values, and this is where you take a campaign and change one thing, for example the subject line, and then send one version to about 10% of your list and the other version to another 10% of your list. Then you can see what the results are and use the version that gets the best result to send to the remaining 80%. And we've seen improvements of up to 60% just by doing that. The software that you use should do this automatically. So the software that we resell, for example, the .mailer system, does this automatically, but you can do it manually if your software doesn't support it. More advanced tracking is also possible. You can track readers from your email campaigns through to your website to see what pages they visited and set up your campaigns as a traffic source in Google Analytics. It's even possible for online retailers to link campaigns to the shopping cart so you can see exactly how much money was raised from each campaign. Your goal should be to start off with some rough and ready campaigns, then gradually refine them over time as you discover what works and what doesn't. If you make a habit of this, you'll have embarked on a process of continuous improvement and your email marketing cannot fail to bring you more and more business. So your action on this is review your metrics. What would you most like to improve? And what could you do to improve that particular metric? The final piece of the jigsaw is to automate your campaigns. Automation allows you to target your communications more effectively, making use of whatever data you hold about your prospects. Automation saves you loads of time on tedious, low-value admin tasks, and you can then spend that time on high-value activities such as planning your email strategy, creating quality content, analysing responses, and split testing to optimise your results. You can also provide your readers with highly targeted, hyper-relevant content based on what you know about them. The result is that people will respond more to your campaigns, and you can use the data you thereby obtain to feed the very best sales leads to your teams, if you have them. This means that your sales effort is laser focused on your hottest prospects, leading to higher conversion rates, more sales, a lower cost per lead, and greater profit. So what is email automation? It's simply building campaigns that continue to operate or that change content without further input from you or your team. It includes such things as personalization, autoresponders, scheduled campaigns, in other words, you're scheduling them to go out at a later date, remail, which means remailing people who didn't open the campaign, dynamic content, that's content that changes depending on who's receiving it, date-triggered campaigns, event-triggered campaigns, so that's a campaign that's triggered by an event like somebody making a purchase or visiting a particular web page, behavior-driven campaigns, so campaigns that are driven by whether or not somebody opened an email or clicked on a link. Dynamic segments, so that's smaller segments of your database that update themselves automatically. Preference centers, and a preference center allows people to say what sort of emails they want to receive from you. And APIs and web services, which are ways of integrating your email systems with other data systems like a CRM system or your website. Automation is a big subject on its own, and we'll be offering you a whole webinar dedicated to this subject at a later date to show you how you can enjoy the benefits of automation in the same way that big businesses do. Once you've set up your automated campaigns, the pressure is off and you can relax, knowing that your customers and prospects will all receive a consistent, well-planned, optimized sequence of relevant communications, giving them the right message at the right time without a great deal of effort on your part. This greatly increases the probability that people respond to your campaigns, so it increases your return on investment. On the automation webinar, I'll show you how to make a start on automation by breaking it down into easy steps. In the meantime, here's something you can do now. Analyze your sales process. What happens and when? Next, think about which parts of that process could be automated or improved by automation. So that's it for today. These are the 8 essential elements to get in place if you want your email campaigns to take off and start to bring you real tangible results in the form of more business and bigger profits. In a moment, I'll answer some questions, so please use the chat box on the right to ask any questions that you may have. I would also really appreciate it if you give me a bit of feedback using the chat box to let me know what you thought of today's webinar. We would like to use some of these comments to put on our website and in our emails, so please let me know if that's okay with you and tell me what you thought of the webinar, and then if you're willing, write a sentence saying what you would say if you were recommending this webinar to somebody else. Now, I'm sure that all of you will have taken something useful from today's webinar, but I'm also hoping that some of you will want to take your email marketing up to the next level. If you implement the actions that I've highlighted today, you will see some improvement, but if you want your campaigns and your business to really soar, you'll need to do quite a bit more than that. So I'd like to take a few minutes just to explain to you how we work with our clients. If you're really serious about developing your skills so that you can send campaigns that motivate your customers and perfect prospects to do business with you, you might be interested in our Maximum Response Marketing Program. If you join this program, we'll meet you for a half-day strategy session to get you really clear on why people should choose you over other providers, to hone your marketing message, and to create a campaign strategy. Then each month you'll have a 45-minute one-to-one call to focus on any aspect of your email marketing and other marketing activities. And there'll also be a group call so you can ask questions, get expert advice, and exchange ideas with other high-quality, like-minded peers. Every month you can also submit one of your campaigns to us by email, and we'll review it and send you feedback on how to improve it. And you'll get unlimited access to our online guided learning sessions, each of which focuses on one of the 8 essential elements, enabling you to sharpen up your skills to get your campaigns really rocking. If you just want to brush up on your skills without the one-to-one element and the group calls, you can just sign up for the online guided learning sessions on their own. Each session focuses on one of the 8 elements. The sessions are online with the opportunity to interact with other participants. The numbers are limited and you can ask questions throughout. We'll apply the learning during the call to your business directly, so you'll make real progress during these sessions. If you already know what you're doing, but your software can't keep pace with your ambitions, we are resellers for the market-leading Dotmailer software. It's one of the most advanced email marketing packages available today, and yet superbly easy to use. We set our own prices, so we're able to offer it at a much lower cost than if you were to buy it directly from Dotmailer. Finally, if you would prefer to get the results from email marketing without doing the work yourself, we offer a fully managed service where we will consult with you to establish a strategy, much like the Maximum Response Marketing Program. Then we'll design you a template, suggest content, write and format the emails, schedule and send them, and interpret the results for you. You won't have to lift a finger apart from approving the copy and designs. Okay, well, that's enough of that. Let's go over to the questions now.